Hi guys, Miss Borderline back again. I've got a quick update for you on the Sarah Boone case. She was at a pre-trial hearing. It was there just about 3 days ago, I think it was, where she attended court. She was accompanied by her, I think, 6th or 7th lawyer now, who seems to be literally on his last legs. Prosecutor was there. Judge was asking basically what the delay was and when can they go to trial. It seems to be from the defence side that they are going to go for the, as we already knew this anyway, they're going to go for the battered spouse defence. However, the present lawyer said they've approached so far 3 experts in the field of battered spouse who have declined to join their team basically. They've even reached out to some women's shelters to see if any psychologists would be willing to testify as an expert witness. Basically, they've had no luck, which is unsurprising, really. Even the defence lawyer himself said that, he's not surprised what with the media attention this case has had, that nobody actually wants to come and give evidence.
Morning, ma'am. Tell me your name and your date of birth.
Sarah Boone, October 10th, 1977.
All right, we're here for pretrial conference today. Mr. Cacciatore, where do you stand in preparing to proceed forward to trial?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Banquets, where do you stand in regards to preparing
I'm
for
sorry,
trial?
the defense is not ready. We're requesting a continuance. We are having difficult time finding an expert who is willing to work for the JAC rates. And so I'm still it's an essential part of the case, basically. It's never been initiated before by any of the prior attorneys that I'm aware of.
In broad terms, what's the nature, what's the field?
Spouse defense.
Okay.
Statutorily, we have to give the state notice, sufficient time, and name of the expert and the essential elements that they'll be testifying to.
Okay. Mr. Cacciatore, what's your position in regard to the defense request for continuance?
I would have no objection to another role.
So, Mr. Banquets, how deeply have you plumbed the depths of the pool of experts in this field to find out or find one who's willing to work for the JAC rate?
Well, I've actually talked to 3, and they don't have contracts with JAC and are not willing to work with JAC. And I've made some other inroads with battered women's shelters, trying to get their psychologists, who'd be willing. Problem is willing to testify, basically.
Okay. Because of the concern about the compensation rate for testimony?
Well, that's one of the things. And to be honest with you, this case has had so much notoriety that people don't want to be involved.
Okay. So, Mr. Banquets, I'm certainly willing to give you additional time based on my understanding of the case. I understand why that would be a defense the defense would want to explore about potentially presenting. What I'm not sure about is whether the inability to find an expert forever delays the trial of the case.
I wouldn't expect it to be a forever delay, Judge. And you know me better than that.
Mr. Cacciatore, well, I just want to make sure everyone in the room understood that, I'll give reasonable amounts of time to prepare a defense. The defense entitled to an adequate defense, but they're not necessarily entitled to the exact defense they would prefer to have if resources were unlimited. So, Mr. Cacciatore, remind me, where are we as far as lining up your various homicide cases for trial? I know we have some things set to go to trial in the June trial period.
Yes, we have both Mr. Herlong and Mr. Sowell set for then. And then as far as this trial period, we have Mr. Hall and potentially Mr. Ofori as well. If I could ask of the defense, because I think it would make a difference in the timing of the continuance in this case, does the defense intend to hire an expert to testify generally as to the precepts and the things that go along with battered spouse syndrome, or do they intend to hire an expert that will evaluate Mrs. Boone and want to comment on her directly? And the reason I ask that is because I think the case law is clear that if it's the latter thing, then the state is entitled to have her sit down with our own expert to be evaluated as well. So that would obviously take more time if that is going to be the path they're going to go.
Mr. Banquets, are you in a position to distinguish?
Number two is definitely what we're looking at, Judge. Although number one would be incorporated in that as far as their general ability and their expertise in the area.
Would you agree that if in fact you retain an expert and they're going to opine specifically on Ms. Boone's state of mind at the time of the incident, that opens the door for the state to also have an expert? All right.
Most definitely.
So here's what I am, and Mr. Castro, let me ask you this. Let's say that turns out not to be an issue. We're not going to have two experts. How long would it otherwise take you to present your case? Just rough idea.
I would say 3 days.
And other than this potential defense, Mr. Banquets, and is that including jury selection, Mr. Cacciatore?
No, I probably 3.5 days with jury selection.
All right. And Mr. Banquets, other than this potential defense, if we picked a jury in 1 day, the state presented their case in 2.5 days, how long do you anticipate a defense presentation would be at this point?
I'd say at least 3 days.
Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. I'll grant the continuance. I'm thinking continuing out to the July 11th pretrial, July 24th trial period.
How long is that trial period, Judge? I have a time-certain death penalty case in Lake County starting the second week in August.
That's a 3-week trial period, so it would be the week starting Monday, July 24th, Monday, July 31st, and then the last week of the trial period would be Monday, August 7th.
That's when I'm scheduled to start picking a jury in Lake County.
Well, let's do this. I want to set it for that date. That way you'll have a much better idea of what's actually happening on your death penalty case in Lake County. I understand that they're priority cases, but I also know that they're the cases where if a problem comes up, no matter what a judge has said before, they're likely to allow the case to move because they don't want to try it twice.
Just to advise the court, this case had to be continued at the last minute because of one of the attorney's wives had basically had a stroke. And so there was...
See, I try not to say things like that because I feel like I'm just tempting fate.
Well, that's just Lake County, Judge. What do you expect?
Well, having never worked there, it means nothing to me. So, I'll grant the change, July 11th pretrial, July 24th trial period, and let's go ahead and do this at a separate, unique date for pretrial so that I have... y'all have my undivided attention when we talk about the case. I don't have 97 other lawyers tapping their fingers waiting to get to me.
Sounds good, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Ms. Boone, we return to the Orange County Jail pending further order of the court. And Mr. Banquets, you can electronically file the motion to continue.
Yes, sir, we will.
And the court minutes will say it's granted. All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Have a good day.
You too.
So as it stands, we'll keep an eye out. I'll keep you updated still. But as it stands, the judge has put in or penciled in a date of July the 11th, 2023. Okay, I'll keep you updated. Toodaloo.